everyone, I'm Priyanka, the author of Shelly the Jellyfish. I love doing that so much, so bear with me, please. Anywho, so I'm here today to answer the questions that were posted. I would like to thank everyone who took out the time to post these questions. I have finally picked three questions, and it was difficult to do that. I must say. And I also realized that the video has been posted very late, and because I haven't really found the right time to do this, well, finally managed to do it today, and I'm very grateful for that. So, and thank you for your patience as well. So let's start. The first question is by Trilokesh27, and it was posted through on Instagram. And Trilokesh asks me if I did any research for this book and if it was easy to write a book for both children and adults. So thank you for your question, Trilokesh. And before I start, I would just kind of like to tell you that it was during my time as a behavioral trainer, and this was right after my experience as a primary school teacher. So after teaching in the primary section for quite some time, I kind of moved into behavioral training. So I was dealing with these kids, and then I was dealing with a completely different age group, and it was a very amazing experience, because what we realized that although the content was different, what we were trying to kind of impart was different, but the participants who were from different age groups altogether, however, the activities that we did with both these age groups had almost the same sort of reaction. So we got the same reaction when we did painting with the kids, and when we did painting your emotions with the managers of companies, when we played games with them, when we told them stories, when storytelling was used as a mode for training, the same sort of excitement and energy was kind of felt, even with a completely different grown-up, as we say, grown-up age group. And that was very interesting for me to see. And it was just like a realization that no matter how old we get, there's always a child, hidden in all of us. And I always knew that if I told a story, if I ever kind of told a story of my own, it would be one that is kind of enjoyed by me, if I like that story. And that's what I've tried to do with the book. I have tried to tell a story which is heartfelt, which I am able to relate to, with the child in me is able to relate to, and an honest story. And I mean, an honest story, I have realized and I have seen through the years that I have kind of practiced, is that an honest story touches everyone's heart, no matter what their age group. It doesn't really matter. And I myself, I'm a big fan of, animated movies for kids, and because they tell a beautiful message, they're made so beautifully. They have such an encouraging and positive message behind it. So what's not to like? And we are adults, right? And we enjoy it as much as the younger ones do. So it was very clear right from the beginning that this story is going to be something that's going to be authentic for me. That was kind of that was the bar at which kind of I had set myself. This is what I want to do. And the story talks about getting out of our comfort zone. And I know for a fact that irrespective of which year we were born, these are like a few things that we all struggle with. Even as grown-ups, we struggle when we need to get out of our comfort zone, because change is painful. So although for an adult that would be taking a new job, for a child it would be maybe going to the next room and fetching his toy on his own. That is out of his comfort zone when he's doing that all by himself. So the feeling is the same that both these age groups feel, So that was something that I wanted to kind of talk about here. So I would say that yes, Trilokesh, it was easy to do it, because I just asked myself that would I like to read this book. So if I had the story in mind, and I asked myself that if I write it in a certain way, would I like to read this book as a parent to my child? And would I like to hear this book as a child? And we did kind of read this book, share this story to 40 odd kids before we even went into the idea of making it into a book. And what encouraged us to even go ahead with the story was this reaction that we got from the children. And that was very encouraging for me as a writer to, go ahead with this project. So that was my experience with this. The second question is asked by Asma Aisha through Instagram. And let me say, Asma is also one of my parents. Both her boys come to me for storytelling. So thanks, Asma, for posting this. And Asma has asked me that what is the one thing that is unique in my story when compared to other authors? And that I sat with this question for quite some time, because I felt like I really had to kind of reflect on what is truly unique about this story that I really love. I mean, it's very close to my heart, but what's new about this story? And what I would like to say is that I wouldn't after a lot of thought, I have realized that I wouldn't go as far as to say that the story is unique, in true honesty, because there are lots of good and lots of amazing authors out there, and they are so wonderful, and some of them have also inspired me to be an author. Julia Donaldson is one of my top favorites. So I wouldn't say that there is something unique about the story. But what I would like to say is that once you have read the book, what each one of us takes away from that book will be unique to us. So you'll be surprised to know that each child who we had shared the story earlier very often came up with a completely different and a completely unique learning from the story. Something that I, as the creator, as the writer of the story, hadn't really thought about. So I may have written the story with a certain message in my mind, but when the story is told to the children, they come up with such varied learnings, and that was marvelous to watch. And I was amazed at the way they used to perceive the story and the depth at which they could understand it and make it their own. And that was something that was I think something new that I discovered through my journey of being an author. So, and as an author, I have kind of attempted to write a story that inspires and encourages us to dream and to be brave. So that was my idea. But it's the readers who are going to decide how that story works for them and what would they like to take away from it. Apart from that, I would also like to add that those of you who have already read the book will know this, that the book offers more than just the story itself. So that is something unique about the book, I would say, because it teaches us our relationship with mistakes. Again, something that even we as adults struggle with, right? Being kind to ourselves when we make mistakes. And so we have an audiobook that is included in this book itself, and it encourages listening skills. Now my son, he's 6 years old, and when he heard the audiobook, he was inspired to take up elocution because of the beautiful way that the story has been narrated by the narrator, by Brad Grohowski, who's done an amazing job. And this was something that I hadn't really thought about, but this was something that he kind of felt like he picked up from this experience, and he was inspired to do elocution. We also have introspective questions, which are towards the end, which are more like conversation starters for the children, which help the children to dive deeper into the story, to understand something that is beyond the story and make it their own. So so I would say that this is what is unique about the book, not really about the story, but the way the story has been handled is something that's very unique. And the last question has come from Ram Mishra through Facebook. And Ram Mishra says, hello ma'am, I want to ask you that you have come up with such a strong topic about getting out of the comfort zone, which is quite necessary in today's world. So was it difficult for me, to become an author because, and was it the strongest decision that I've ever made? So thank you, Ram Mishra, for this question. And of course, it was difficult. It's still frightening to be an author. It's still frightening to talk about your book. It's you're putting yourself out there to be judged, aren't you? And for me, it took a lot of time. It was like giving birth all over again for me. Because when I was sitting with the story for 2 years, and when I finally had to put it out there for the world to see, it was actually like, it was more of you have sat with the story, you've thought about it, you've tried to make it better in your own way. And then finally you kind of let it go and you let it fly and create its own history, create its own future. You're letting go. So when it was kind of liberating in a way, but it was also frightening. So of course but it was a beautiful experience. And thank you so much for asking this question because it helps me share something about my journey and my experience as an author. And I always tell my children, by the end of it, that when you've read the book, which are the characters that you relate to? And some of them say starfish, where the starfish is sitting quietly and observing, while others say the octopus, and some of us are Shelley. So I am definitely Shelley here. I can relate to Shelley a lot, where she goes through this journey of fear and and eventually and gradually she discovers something so beautiful about herself. And I am on that journey, and I'm enjoying it. As you can see, it's still daunting at times, but thanks to everybody of you, all of you out there who have welcomed and who are so encouraging of new authors, especially Ata Galata, who gave the space for doing this. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for posting your questions. And we'll soon be sending you a free copy of Shelley the Jellyfish. And those of you who haven't bought it, please go and buy the book. It's on Amazon and on Flipkart. Thank you. Bye-bye.